the reins. Can I take you off my hand?
No, you see, when you take me off your hand, I have no strength in this world to be able to talk. See, in our world, puppets talk. See, but we had this terrible dictator who hated puppets, considered us illegal aliens, or some sort of thing.
Well, shall we walk around and look for your friend then?
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And do you know what intolerance is?
Intolerance?
Yes. I'd like to talk to you about that if you don't mind.
Sure. Let us go and search for your friend. I think we can find him.
So, Brother Christopher, this is your city. Do you think we'll find Freddy here?
Oh, I think we got a good chance. I need to make some money first, though, so why don't we sit over here?
Well, why don't we go in and get some coffee first?
Oh, I'd like to, but it seems that I'm banned from there.
You're banned? Why?
Oh, that's a story I'll tell you after I set up.
Well, you said you were going to tell me the story. So tell me.
Well, it was a night, long ago, a cold, wintry night, pouring down rain. And two girls that I know that live on the streets were standing underneath the awning over there at Malaprops, that nice little coffee shop. Who's not prejudiced, I wouldn't think. Well, they were standing there, and I got there, and...
Hey, kid, how you doing? Good. Good, that's good. Stick to the show. I will. Well, continue.
Well, the manager of Malaprops came out and told the girls and me that we had to leave, that we could not stand underneath their awning, as they put it.
Their awning?
Yeah, they say they own it. They say they own this 5 feet of sidewalk. Well, the girls left, huh? Yeah, because they didn't want no problems.
But I know you.
Yeah, you know me well. So I told them call a cop. Cop came out, showed him the ordinance that shows that as long as you don't block the sidewalk or block their doorway, that what I was doing was legal. And the cop agreed. And in retaliation, Malaprops banned me for life. Oh, yeah, I'm shocked too.
That's not fair.
I know.
That sounds like that P word to me.
You know how hard it is for me to say P words, right?
I know. Prejudice.
You said it, not me. Well, I gotta make some money, so I'm gonna play the flute.
Okay, put me to sleep.
Want to give money to the poor, they give it to this box.
Don't you have panhandler?
No, there's a lot of panhandlers in this country, or actually in this city.
You're kidding! No, don't tell me that.
Why?
Well, okay, so when they need money, they just come to the box and say, "You need money?"
No, they can't do that.
Oh, no! I gotta talk to the city council! I gotta talk to the city council! Come on, let's go!
making sure a trip, Charlie.
Yeah, I know. And I'm glad that I can still do it in this world.
So you can do certain things, but certain things you can't do.
No. I sure couldn't make that mayor listen. She wouldn't even let me talk. Why, I didn't expect her to explode.
I know, Charlie. But it didn't surprise me.
What do you mean it didn't surprise you?
Well, let's see. In the last 2 years that I've gone there, I've seen our First Amendment rights so squashed.
What do you mean squashed?
Well, first, she got up one night and said, "No one shall prophesy or preach at us."
Well, so how do you mean for... Oh.
That's right. See, I was the only one that would go to the city council and preach and prophesy, telling them that God wants them to repent, to turn away from their greed and idolatry and turn to the love of God and to love thy neighbor as thyself.
And they didn't want to hear that, huh?
Well, they sure aren't acting like they are. I mean, so far, I showed you the box.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to the city council.
Yeah, why did you want to talk to them about that?
Well, that was one of the signs.
What do you mean, one of the signs?
Well, you see, oh, on our planet. Oh, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. On our planet, there was a group, the humans. See, we, puppet people, we were the first ones alive on our planet. And then later in our history, humans showed up. Well, some of our puppet people, well, they weren't very nice, and they made the humans slaves.
They did.
Yes. But then they got their freedom a couple hundred years later.
I see.
But
what?
But they were still treated with prejudice because they weren't like us.
Uh-huh. I see. Sounds kind of like our history with the black community and the white community. In the South, the black community were slaves for quite a while.
I know. I read your Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights, and they're very powerful words.
That's true, and they are for everyone.
Well, we had something like that too, but you see, the funny thing was, well, those who were being oppressed, the humans, by being treated like a second-class citizen, well, they got together and they fought with some of our people for their rights to be treated like humans. Well, actually, like all our people.
Yeah, that is funny, Charlie.
Well, what happened was, once they got power, once they got authority, they became as bad as the other oppressors.
Oh, I see.
Well, you remember Belshare?
Oh, yeah, I remember Belshare.
Can you let me do that story?
Uh-huh.
Well, do you remember those guys you told me about from the year before?
Uh-huh, the guys with the signs.
Well, yeah. Oh, they were there. And you remember how you told me how, because of one specific community standing up and acting like children and like oppressors, like what happened to them when they tried to get their rights, you had to stand up and proclaim, and God sent winds to break it up?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, the same thing happened this year. Here was a guy just standing with his sandwich signs, telling everybody about how his God loves them. And true, the people may not have liked how he was doing it, because I know you don't.
Yeah, I know, because I like to share about the love of Jesus Christ.
Well, he was, in a sense. He was trying to warn people of what he felt was wrong, and sending them to a place of eternal punishment.
I know. And I know his message can be strong, too, because I walked with sandwich signs.
Well, that's true, but you also are a little bit different. You acknowledge you're a screw-up, too, just like everybody else.
Well, that's true. We are. And Philemon says that if you want to know if a person's a true Christian, ask him these two questions. Has he sinned in the past? Has he sinned in the present? And if he says yes to both those questions, well, you've got 2/3 of the test done. 2/3? Well, the third one is you watch them and see, do they love their brethren? Oh, I see. If they love their brethren, then their confession is true. Oh. But if one confesses that one doesn't sin no more, then he calls God a liar. Oh. And you know that one of my stands is that I want to see all the gods. See, I follow Yahshua, and I believe in Jesus, his son of Yahweh. And in that, I profess and live my life. But there are others who profess different beliefs. Yeah, that's true. Now, if I am prejudiced, I don't want to hear the view, do I? No. But even if I'm prejudiced, doesn't mean that that makes me a terrible person. It just means that I've got a closed mind. Now, a person may not like something, but still have an open mind. That's true. Now, I believe that it's according to the Declaration of Independence and First Amendment that our nation was supposed to be a nation that reflected all the aspects of our being. Let us make man in our image, my God said. So I believe that when we said let's make a government, we were saying the same thing. Let us make a government in our own image. That's true. And your government has been just as prejudicial as mine. And you saw some of what's going to happen to what happened to mine can happen to yours. True. Bigotry and all those things are wrong. But the worst bigotry is the bigotry against the bigots. Because see, what bothered you, and you told me about this Belshire, yeah, was how they assaulted the guy on the signs. And they thought it was okay. Well, people don't think that riding on someone's board is assault, but it is. Instead of if they wanted to voice against the guy, instead of getting in his face, and you know how when you're yelling, you sometimes spit without meaning to. That's true. Oh, sorry. Well, stand 3 feet back if you want to debate with these guys. Show them, if you're saying that their message is not a message of love, that's true, then show them love in return. Huh? Show them you're willing to listen to what they say. And then when you try to share what you have, if they're not willing to listen, then they're showing their bigotry, and then you just walk away. Because they're not going to listen no matter what you say. That's true. I'm sorry the mayor kind of went out. Well, you know I'm not alive as far as the knowledge and wisdom of this world. Does she think I'm alive? Oh, well, maybe that's it. Maybe she knows that many of my people have escaped to different worlds and to escape our tyrant and the destruction of our world. Could she have had a contract with your humans? Maybe she's afraid of us. Maybe. Well, you want to wink out of here and head and try and find your friend? I know we've been looking, but if there was only... Well, you know, if we had a homing device, like a compass. Well, I've got a compass, but it just homes on... Well, what? Well, I can change that compass to find him. You want to? Sure. Okay, let's do that, and then wink out. Where is it? Over here. Ta-da! Okay, we can go. Well, Charlie, getting any readings on the compass? Yeah, Brother Christopher, I'm getting a really strong reading from that building over there. Over there, huh? Yeah. That toy store? I think so. Let's go check it out. Okay. Okay, Charlie, let's go in here and see if we can find your friend there, Charlie. Ooh, neat stuff in here, isn't it, Charlie? Yeah, real neat. Now, the compass says he's in there somewhere. Is this him, Charlie? Nah, he's a dragon. which compass showing. Keep going. Wait a minute, turn to the right. Turn to the right. Oh, there he is. Freddy! Freddy! Yeah. Okay, we'll get you out, Freddy. Excuse me, but a friend of mine left this puppet here. You wouldn't want to check, make sure it's not yours, so I can go ahead and leave?
Sure, I'll check for you.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, I can't find anything in our inventory.
Ah, cool. Thanks, man. Go on.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Freddy!
Charlie!
Oh, Freddy, it's good to see you again.
Oh, Charlie! Oh, Charlie, you're terrible, Charlie! You're terrible!
What, Charlie?
Oh, our world! Oh, our world! Oh, our world! Well, then tell me, Charlie. Who's this guy right here on my shoulder?
Yes, it started, Charlie. Yes, Charlie, they started. First, they started rounding up those who were dissidents, those who would not follow the call. And then they sent out the army to war against anyone who fought against them. The war machine was set loose to destroy. Came the Air Force. Bringing death wherever they fly. Then their great ships were not protected enough. And then it finally happened. They dropped the ultimate weapons of destruction. It was so horrible, Charlie. Nowhere were you safe. Nothing was safe, Charlie. Nothing. And the fallout was terrible, Charlie. The radiation, Charlie. Charlie, let's stop and watch a little bit of the street performance. term for prejudice and intolerance.
Oh, yeah, that's true. In my world, we call it political truth. And if you didn't follow it, you were sent to an education camp. This has been a Yahweh production, directed by Brother Christopher. Special thanks to Enviro Depot for their support in the making of this program. Y'all have a good day now. Quack, quack. Hi, Yahweh Productions presents Polygamy. Written by Brother Christopher. Directed by Brother Christopher. Starring Charlie, Freddie, and Brother Christopher. So, stay tuned for a heck of a good show, I hope. The breadlines in America. The Great Depression of the 30s. Will it come back again? Will life in this country end up like it was back in the 30s? And is there a solution to the job problem and the homeless problem and just all the financial problems in our country? Is there a solution? We will look at one of them.
In the beginning, God, created, all, things, and then he created man, and out of the rib of man, he brought woman, unto man.
You know, with polygamy, there's a lot of good benefits, even though it's very...
When God brought woman to man, that was it. Marriage was created. And everything from that point on is based on traditions, customs, and customs eventually become laws.
Oh, is that so?
Uh-huh.
You know, like the Babylonian custom with Hagar.
Yeah. Abraham and Sarah had a promise by God. But because of Sarah's doubt, she decided to use a Babylonian custom, which was to have a concubine wife bear her child upon the lap of the lawful wife to produce a lawful child. In our country, we're unique because we are a country that's founded not on one set of customs, because our nation was not founded for one set of people.
So as you're saying, Brother Christopher, customs, like with Sarah and Abraham, right?
Or if you're talking about the Babylonian custom where Sarah had Hagar birth Abraham's child on Sarah's lap to make a lawful child, then you're right. That's customs.
Oh, I see.
Now in Babylonia, they actually made it a law because sometimes the lawful wife could not conceive. So, since they needed a child of inheritance, they allowed for the birthing upon the lawful wife's lap. And in our country, we have a unique situation too.
How so?
Well, our founding fathers formed a country not based on Christianity, though they were Christians themselves. In the Declaration of Independence, they declared us a nation that follows the laws of nature and the God of nature. And that's what makes us so unique. It allows all belief system, it allows all people to come to this country.
I see. But what does that have to do with marriage in this country?
Well, the United States Constitution states in the First Amendment, as a protection to the Declaration of Independence, that the country shall not establish a religion, any one religion.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, when our country was founded, there was no marital laws. We, coming from England, no longer recognized the king, so we basically just had common law marriage. And when marriages first started being licensed, since the consensus of the people were Christians, and since they practiced monogamy, the laws were based on that custom.
Oh, I see. Now, does that make it right?
Well, not necessarily. You see, even when they founded those laws, they inherently violated the First Amendment.
Now, every nation and every country establishes their laws based on the customs, because usually customs start first, then traditions, and then they become laws. And most laws and customs are based on their religious tenets or their religious beliefs. That's what makes this country so different, so unique. Because we're considered the melting pot of the world. And we have to take all the good qualities of every country, of every nation, of every people, and blend them into one custom, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all people. And to proclaim that message through the world and let them freely choose if they want to follow our ways. But our actions do speak louder than words. When our nation established its marital laws, it was because we were basically Christians. And there was no one to say, hold on, I don't believe that custom. I believe in more than one wife. What about me?
You know, there's a saying in my world. They came for the Jews, and I said nothing. They came for the blacks, and I said nothing. They came for the crippled and the lame, and I said nothing. They came for those who were mentally ill, and I still said nothing. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to say anything at all.
Well, to make a long story short, the marriage laws of today are now and was then a direct violation of the First Amendment and the intent of the Declaration by not allowing others to practice their other beliefs. And polygamy is one of them. Now, I wonder, what are the benefits to polygamy other than the obvious? Let's ask Brother Christopher. Brother Christopher! Brother Christopher! Would you tell us, what are the benefits?
What are the benefits to polygamy? Other than the obvious marriage bed, which if I took a survey, I wonder how many people out there, that was the first thing that came to your mind. But in actuality, it's relationship. Whether you're monogamous or polygamous, that is the most important aspect in a marriage, the relationship. With the stresses and strains of today's society, the polygamous relationship does have a stronger relationship base. One loses a job, it doesn't necessarily bring destruction to a marriage and bring them on the streets. I want to give you an example of the two financially. You got Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're a monogamous relationship. And you got Mr. and Mrs. and Mrs. and Mrs. Jones. And they're a polygamous relationship. Now, they all make the same amount of money. But now in the Joneses' houses, they have an additional two incomes. Now, if, say, the Smiths and the Joneses both end up pregnant, well, that means the Smiths have a very difficult choice to make. Does she remain home for the first 7 years of a child's most prime essence of life, of growing, of nurturing, of knowing who he is or she is? Does Miss Smith take that time, or does she have to lease out her child? Does she have to become a part-time parent and give her child into the hands of someone who they may not even know what their religious as well as their moral standpoints are? And I'm not saying that all daycare centers are that way. I'm sure that 99.9% of them give the best to those kids. But can they give better than a parent? Now, in the Joneses' house, one of them gets pregnant. Well, I'm sure out of the three women, that one would want the most greatest of all jobs. And believe me, the women's movement has done more to discredit the American housewife than any other organization. Think about it, the housewife. She takes the house and creates an island paradise so that those who are working come home and have a place of peace and contentment. She's a chauffeur. She's the cook. She's the teacher of your children. She's the nurse when your child bumps a knee or learns enough to where she can take care of you when you cut your hand at work. Financially, there's too many benefits to say out of hand, no, polygamy is not a way to solve the homeless problem and the poor, period, problem. If Isaiah is right, one day 7 women shall vie for the hand of one wife. How will the Christian church respond when their Christian women come to them and say, look, we want to be married, I'm 20 or I'm 25 and we want a husband, yet there's no husbands out there? Will they stay in a staunch, nobody can have but one wife? Now let's take scriptures on that. Paul is the only writings in Timothy and Titus where he says, not to the congregation, but to the elders, the leaders, and the deacons. They could only have one wife. Well, of course, then they'll respond, well, Jesus said, well, let's go with what Jesus said. When the Pharisees and Sadducees came to test Jesus, they said, Jesus, can we divorce our wife for any cause? At that time, they basically could. So if I had a 50-year-old wife and I was 50 years old and my buddy down the street had a daughter coming of age and I could meet the dowry price, but dang, I'd have to get rid of one of my wives to do it, well, he'd do it. Jesus' response was not monogamy. What his response was about the heart of this man's heart. For Moses gave you that law of divorce, Jesus said. For it was not this way. For there was but one man, one woman, and they cleaved together. Now that's what they try to say, well, who the bell tolls. Because that's what they try to tell us, you can only have one wife. Well, I'm sorry. God only needed to make one Eve at that time. And the cleaving together was what he was showing, that they were to become one unit, one family. Now, in the tradition of the Jews, since Christians follow and must follow the Old Testament, for without the Old Testament, you don't have a New Testament. And according to the laws of the Old Testament, never did the law say you cannot have more than one wife. It did put the requirement that in the New Testament, he said, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, willing to die for her. So if you have that love for one wife, fine. If you have that love for 3 wives, great. For there's no difference amongst God's people. When Jesus spoke to them and reminded them of the past, he was not bringing man back to monogamy. He was rebuking them, saying, hey, look at the blessings you got now. With the law you have now, you can have as many wives as you can afford. Because back then it was looked at on the fact of the man being able to afford to support all those women. It's interesting because Jesus also spoke of another man. A man who had 10 brides. 10. Now the church loves to bring them up because they like to talk about the wise ones and the foolish ones. The wise ones who had enough oil to make it into the marriage feast. The foolish ones who didn't have enough, had to go out and try and buy, and it was too late, and they weren't allowed in. Jesus never said, hey, that sinner who was going to have 10 brides. He just said, a man who had 10 brides, 5 wise and 5 foolish. When I started this study on monogamy, and understand, I was raised a Southern Baptist, and I believed monogamy was the only way, and I accepted the interpretations as the church gave it to me. But when my God got me into the study of it, and I refused to even follow the study for 2 weeks, until he finally made me study about concubine wives. And the surprise was, nowhere does he say a man is bound to just one wife, one bride. But he does say, you better love them equally, not favoring one over the other. I've shown you that financially, polygamy is part of the answer to our economic crunch, our crisis. Relationship-wise, I've shown you that not only can your kids grow up with the moral values you yourself instill in your child, but I've even showed you that even in the Christian faith, interpretations can change a lot of what Jesus said. Study the Word yourself. If you have any comments about this show, email me at iam@yahoo.com, all lowercase letters. If you have a topic that you'd like to see answered, and if I can, I will. That's according to the knowledge that I have. Will you accept it? Great. If you reject it, great. It doesn't change the fact that I love each and every one of you out there because God created you in his image. So until next time, Charlie and I and Freddie will see you.
Yeah, Brother Christopher and I and Freddie, we're gonna go check out the Goon Bay. The Goon Bay, yeah, man. So why don't you just tag along and check it out, man? Quack, quack. Well, as you can see, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this being a record-breaking August day, being the fact that it has now broken the record for the longest period at 90 degrees and over in the month of August. As you can see, right now there's not that many people, but the Goombah Fest is just beginning, so as the temperature hopefully cools down soon, it'll really be kicking. Bazaars and street fests. Again, going back to customs and traditions, where people get together as a community, growing and knowing one another. Did that make you dizzy? It did me.